Season of Championship Drive, who's in, and we've got impact players everywhere. Heather Dinich, Jonathan Vilma, Jim Mora, delighted to be with you. Week 5 of the college football season already in the books. Let's get it started with 4 takeaways. JV, get us going.
Well, sorry to break it to everyone, but late November, we will be right here talking about only one spot because there are 3 undefeated teams that will be in the college football playoff. I promise you that. But the 4th spot, not going to the SEC. Heather, what do you got?
JV, you've got it narrowed down. I've got this thing wide open right now. After 5 weeks, we've learned that if you have Alabama and Clemson fatigue, don't worry about it because this thing is wide open. You've got LSU, Georgia, Auburn, Oklahoma, Ohio State. Your top 4, throw some darts because it's wide open.
Well, you got it wide open. I've got it wider open after 5 weeks, JV.
Yeah.
I think there's 12 teams that are legitimate contenders for the college football playoff. You talk about those teams. How about let's talk about Penn State. Let's talk about Washington. Let's talk about Wisconsin. All right. Hey, maybe the Oregon Ducks. I'm going to go out west. 12 teams. Kevin, what do you think?
Hey, but my big takeaway is, like it or not, transfers are going to write a huge portion of the story in this college football season. Jalen Hurts, Justin Fields, Joe Burrow, all Heisman Trophy candidates, all could potentially lead their teams to national championships, all with a second chance to make a first impression. And we are just getting started here on Championship Drive. Who's in?
Welcome to Championship Drive. Who's in? Presented by Capital One.
All right, our takeaways in the books. We've all played Nostradamus. JV, let's talk about the teams that made an impression this weekend.
Yeah, when you thought that Wisconsin's defense couldn't be any better from that performance against Michigan, they come back and literally win the game for Wisconsin. 2 defensive scores, pressure all over the place. Northwestern had no chance. This is a stout defense. Can't wait to see them late in the season.
You know who I'm impressed with is Penn State. I was doubting, but that 59-0 beatdown they put on Maryland on Friday night made me a believer. And when I think of Penn State, I think of defense, JV. The great linebacker they've only given up 3 touchdowns this year, 7.5 points a game, and they're averaging over 50. So they're doing it on both sides of the ball, and they're very, very balanced on offense.
I think Ohio State really showed us something on the road at Nebraska. When you look at what they did, 3 things stand out. Justin Fields, true dual-threat quarterback, 23 touchdowns accounted for through 5 games. But they ran the ball so well, almost 400 yards rushing on the ground. And then defensively, forcing Nebraska quarterback Adrian Martinez into 3 turnovers. I mean, complete.
You know, I think we're still kind of waiting for the big upset this season, right? We haven't really seen that, but we did see a ton of dominant performances in Week 5. Let's talk about who's been dominant on the whole. Who's sort of separated themselves from the rest of the pack?
Well, I think you start with the Buckeyes and Oklahoma. To me, those are our 2 teams with outstanding quarterback play that has helped elevate them, but I will say, against some lesser competition.
What I love about Oklahoma is that Jalen Hurts is a quarterback that has been there and done it before. He's been in a national championship game. He's won a national championship. And then I've seen him just assimilate himself into that Lincoln Riley offense so seamlessly. And when he plays, he's playing with this amazing confidence. He's playing with poise. We know he can do it with his arm. He's doing it with his feet. But more than anything, I've been impressed with his ability to throw the ball with great accuracy and efficiency.
Well, how come we're not talking about Wisconsin? When we say dominant, I'm not saying they're the top team in the country, but their defense has been lights out. I mean, Michigan had no chance against Wisconsin's defense. And then Jonathan Taylor, everyone knows how awesome he is. They put 8 in the box. He's still running for over 100 yards. He'll give you 200 if you really want him to. So dominant team right now, Wisconsin. Maybe not the best, but definitely dominant.
My only concern there, and he's growing on me, is the quarterback. But he's growing on.
Yep,
Cone is growing on me, but I'm not there yet with him.
But I want to go back to your point about Oklahoma because I have a question for you about them. To me, their quarterback wasn't a question coming into this season. It was, can the defense be better? And I think their hiring of Alex Grinch as defensive coordinator has helped them. But can we tell how much better that defense really is to this point in the season based on who they've played?
Not yet.
Is it good enough to keep them?
We'll find out in 2 weeks. Right?
Well, here's what I think we'll find out up front, but I see better tackling. I see better effort to the ball. I see less blown coverages. So to me, those are indicators of better defense. But like JV said, we'll find out when the level of competition ramps up.
Yeah.
I'm just stunned that we've talked this long and we haven't really mentioned an SEC team. I know Georgia had a bye week. We haven't talked about an Alabama team that was losing 10-7 on Saturday and then blew Ole Miss out of the building. How come we're not talking?
Well, Alabama is the best team in the country. I would put them number one, but you mentioned dominant. They haven't been dominant defensively. Offensively, it's a track meet for them. I mean, I've never seen anything like that with the speed that they have at receiver and then Tua throwing the ball. Defensively, though, they have 4 true freshmen right now that are playing, starting and or playing significant time. It's going to take a little bit for them to really impose their will on the defensive side of the ball.
I agree with you, and I think they will. I see those 4 guys starting to ascend.
Yes.
And we know they're great players and coached by Nick Saban. And in that system with the standards they have there, they're going to ascend. They're going to be very, very good here. Just give them some time to grow.
JV talked about the offense. What was stunning is we didn't mention Jerry Jeudy's name a lot yesterday, and there's a reason why. AT&T best performance of the week. How could it go to anybody other than Devontae Smith? 11 catches, 274 yards. 5 touchdowns. He set a school record for receiving yards and receiving touchdowns in that game. Tied an SEC record with 5 touchdowns in the dominant win over Ole Miss. Devontae
Look at it, Kevin. It's not fair. Yeah. Just watching it, it's not fair.
The athleticism is stunning. I mean, he's so graceful.
Man, that is. I want to know what it feels like to be that fast.
Yeah, it would be nice. It would be nice to find out. You know what? The nation's finding out just how good Alabama is. We're going to run through the top 6 teams coming up next.
Championship Drive. Who's in? Who's in? Presented by Capital One.
We're back and we're reminding you, SportsCenter comes your way 11 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. They'll break down the big Bills game today. I think the Patriots are playing, but it's a big Bills game. Plus the final day of the regular season in Major League Baseball, we think. And Dax Day, all coming up SportsCenter 11 Eastern, ESPN. Let's go inside the Samsung QLED TV film room and take a look at our top 4 plays of Week 5. We begin Stony Brook, Rhode Island. Last chance for the Seawolves. 4th and 6. Tykel Fields.
Wow, that's their quarterback?
That's their quarterback.
Running like a wide receiver. He could go for Alabama. Jeez, fast.
With 10 seconds to go, 50-yard touchdown. Stony Brook wins. All right, SMU, South Florida. Shane Buechele, James Prochet. Look, Ma, one hand.
Are you sure that's not Bobby Boucher?
Maybe. What a season so far for SMU.
Yeah.
It is.
Ooh, great.
I like it. One-handed.
Pretty good stuff.
Looked like me back when I was in college. Yeah. I like it.
48-21. One-handed grab. We go to Lincoln, Nebraska for number 2. Ohio State. The Huskers. Adrian Martinez passes tipped. Jeff Okudah.
Oh, that's lucky.
Yeah, you're not. When you're a DB, you're not supposed to be on your back.
Exactly. A little luck. Now, because Okudah, we're going to say it was all skill, right? One of the best corners. It's a little lucky right there.
That's pretty self-aware. That's pretty aware.
That counts,
great.
Guys. That counts.
It counts. All right, we'll give it to him. We'll give it to him.
Wins big. All right, Campbell Mercer, Robert Riddle, the pass to Tucker Cannon.
Oh, I like it's the front flip for his somersault. Look at that. Ooh. How did he manage to one-leg-it and then somersault right into a celebration?
Yeah, that's a perfect 10.
Graceful, beautiful.
Campbell, though, would win the game. All right, we are kind of tiptoed around the issue. Let's get down to brass tacks here. We want your top 6 teams. And, Heather, I want you to start right now. Your top 6 teams as of the end of Week 5.
Okay, so I turned this in for ESPN.com every night last night. I stared at it, and I hit the send button because, yes, I have 4 SEC teams in my top 4. So I'll go with Alabama because I think they played a Power 5 non-conference opponent, unlike Ohio State and Wisconsin. And then number 2, I've got Auburn. I think they have the 2 best wins in the country right now, beating Oregon at Texas A&M. LSU at number 3. They went on the road and beat Texas, guys. That counts for something. Georgia, the win against Notre Dame looks even better after we saw what Notre Dame, particularly on defense, did to Virginia. And then, look, Clemson's still Clemson. It was a tough game against North Carolina, but I'll sneak them in there. And then, yes, the Buckeyes looked fabulous. And I wouldn't argue against that.
Wow.
Jim, I don't know.
Well, that Auburn at number 2, that is a surprising one for me. Now, I agree with a lot of what you're saying, maybe just in different orders. Alabama number 1, and Tua is playing so well. He's so consistent. He's so precise in his passing. He can run it, he can throw it, and he's got all those weapons. I love him, and I love what Justin Fields is doing at Ohio State, and I think that they're just doing a tremendous job in all 3 phases. And then, as I said earlier in the show, with Oklahoma, to me, it's just Jalen Hurts. and his ability to assimilate in that offense so seamlessly, and then prove to me that he is a big-time passer. We knew he could run the ball. We knew he could extend plays with his feet, but his ability to throw the ball. A surprise probably to some is Clemson dropping all the way to 4, and I believe they have a chance to ascend, but at this point, to me, they haven't played like one of the top 3 teams. I agree with you, Heather, on LSU. I'm a big LSU fan, and I love what they're doing on offense, what Burrow's doing in that offense, and yet they still play great defense, so I love what they're doing. And then Georgia. You know, I love Georgia. I think that Fromm's playing very consistently, very well. They've got speed all over the field. I think they're playing great defense. And I'm excited about my top 6. JV, let's see yours.
Of course I'm excited about my top 6. My top 6. I have Alabama at number 1. And, you know, we've all talked about Alabama at 1, 2, Ohio State. And then I brought Clemson down to number 3 because, look, everyone is going to have a close game. It's not going to be 30-point blowouts every time. So I have them at number 3. They're still a very good team, have to work out some kinks. Then you go to number 4, Oklahoma. We talked about Oklahoma and Jalen Hurts already. And then, of course, yes, LSU has the best win against Texas. Still have them at number 5. They will have their shot against Alabama's and a bunch of other SEC teams, and then Georgia at number 6. I just really want to get back to Heather with the 4 SEC teams, 1 through 4 in the country.
Well, retaliation question for you is how do you not have Auburn in there?
Because Bo Nix, to me, has not yet. I love him, okay? I think he's going to be a great player, and he played very well yesterday. But I'm taking the first few games, I'm saying he's not quite there yet. That's my only hesitation.
And I'm going to add to that, I don't believe Texas A&M is as good as advertised. I think that they had good marketing to start the season, but the big name and coaching and all that, they're not that good to me. I'm not sold on them. Oregon, I am sold on. We have to see what happens. But right now they have, in my opinion, 1 good victory. Texas A&M is not.
That's how quietly you just sat there and taken this.
But Texas A&M is good enough for Clemson to be in your top 4.
What do you mean?
That's Clemson.
No, I have Clemson in my top 4 because, 1, they're defending champ. 2, they have a ton of talent across the board. And they have this guy, Trevor Lawrence, who, as soon as he gets out of this sophomore slump, will be one of the best quarterbacks in the country right now.
What we saw yesterday from Clemson was season low in points, yardage. Trevor Lawrence pressured, and anytime he was pressured, he didn't do good. Yes, he makes remarkable downfield passes that probably 5 guys in the country can make. But I think if you're looking at the snapshot, to this point, how do you not reward Auburn for beating Oregon, which you think might be in the mix, should be a top 10 team at the end of the season, right? Bo Nix, for being a true freshman, goes on the road and wins in front of over 100,000
So, Heather,
people.
let me ask you this then. With Auburn at number 2, Auburn and Ohio State were to play right now, you would take Auburn to win that game against Justin Fields, J.K. Dobbins, Jeff Okudah on the other side, Chase Young at defensive end for Ohio State?
I've seen more from Auburn right now against better competition than I have from Ohio State.
And Oklahoma?
Yeah,
take them, okay.
both of them. They haven't.
Listen,
so to answer my question, yes, you believe Auburn would beat Ohio State right now?
I think they could. Why not?
Whoa. Could or would?
Thank you, Jim. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, look, here's 2 things that you need to know about Auburn.
Yes.
Their rushing defense against Texas A&M and yesterday as well is another part of that equation. And when you take the cast of characters that Auburn has for Bo Nix to throw to in terms of Seth Williams and Anthony Schwartz, they have talent on their team, and they have accomplished more.
We are not discounting Auburn. My only point with Auburn, and listen, I was with Bo Nix at the Elite 11, and he was my favorite quarterback by far. High character, studied, asked great questions, impressive, but he's not yet there in his freshman campaign. That's why I can't push him up that high, or Auburn up that high yet, but I have high hopes for Auburn.
But we're not ranking quarterbacks.
No, I'm ranking the team. I know, but the quarterback takes, Heather, every offensive snap starts with the snap to the quarterback.
Thank you, Coach.
So he, unless we're a Wildcat, but so he has a tremendous impact on this team, and I just don't know that he's there yet. I think he's going to get there, but I don't see him there yet.
I'm just curious to understand Ohio State matching up against Auburn, LSU, and Georgia. Ohio State would win those games right now.
Maybe they would. Look, I'm not saying Ohio State.
You had everyone else above them. I don't see. Yes, Auburn has a good defense, a great defense, a very great defense, but Ohio State neutralizes that with Justin Fields and J.K. Dobbins, and then you have Hamlin on the outside. Like they are a legitimate team, and I don't see Auburn's offense being able to keep up with Ohio State's defense.
I'm not questioning Ohio State's legitimacy as a top 4 team at all.
Well, you are because you didn't put them in the top 4.
Well, right, but I'm arguing for the teams that I have in there, right?
Okay.
And the reason that I did, a big part of it is because of who they beat. I think you have to take 2 things into consideration. 1, what did they look like? And 2, who did they do it against? It's a combination of eye test, statistics, and strength of schedule. That's the way the selection committee views it as well. And I guarantee if the committee were meeting today, well, I would be shocked if they walked out of that room and didn't have Auburn in their top 4.
I know this about Auburn. They have to play at LSU, at Florida, home to Georgia, home to Alabama.
Yeah, we're going to find out. Really
It'll all work itself out. And I guarantee you that
that
top 4 is going to change, but that's a snapshot.
And you know what? The top 4 almost really changed based on what happened yesterday in Chapel Hill. Clemson going on the road, taking on North Carolina, who tied it with minute 17 to go. They decide to go for 2. What do we think about the call?
I think it's the right call. I think to go for 2 there, because let me tell you something, the longer the game goes on, the better the team that you're playing has a chance to win. And I don't think Mac thought that in a game that went to overtime that he could win it in the red zone. And it was a low-scoring game. Now, you can question the 2-point call, the play call, maybe put it on the left hash, but no, he made the right decision.
No, Jim, for 60 minutes, of that game, there was nothing that Clemson did that made you think that they were just a better team that day against North Carolina, particularly North Carolina's defense versus Clemson's offense, right or wrong?
Right.
Okay, so now you've just gotten all the momentum. You score the touchdown, crowd's going crazy, everyone's excited. Why would you not take
because
that
you're
team,
playing the national champion.
That same team that you just gave it to them. You gave them the business for 60 minutes.
Look, I'd have probably kicked it. Okay, I would probably kick it. But I think Mac made the right decision. When I look at it as a fan, I'm like, I love that, and there was no hesitancy. He said 2. Go for it right away.
I'm fine with him not being.
And it's his first year, and he's saying, "I believe in you guys.
If you believed in us, tie the game and let us go to OT. If you really believe in us, let us show you how to do it in OT."
What's interesting is you'd think that you were the coach and I were the player. It's like a reverse argument.
And when we come back on Championship Drive, who's in? We're going to take a look at some of the teams that have not been mentioned yet. Some on the outside looking in. The bottom 4 performances from Week 5. Jatarvius Whitlow for Auburn into the end zone, but JV, look out for Bully.
Oh, and I think Bully gave it to him, didn't he? Look, Bully's like, I'm not with that.
The hardest hit Auburn took all day, right? By the way, Bully was okay. Texas A&M and Arkansas, Connor Limpert. First quarter from 52. Misses left, but hang on. A&M called a timeout, so Limpert a shot at redemption.
Right, naturally he knows now to compensate, right?
Right.
Overcompensate. Oh, poor kid.
By the way, Arkansas would lose 31-27. Uh-oh. Meantime, number 2, Washington State, Utah. Mike Leach, none too happy after a 38-13 loss.
Last year's team was a tough team for us. And we got nearly the same guys, and now all of a sudden they're not tough. You know, they're fat, dumb, and happy and entitled.
Wow.
Whoa.
You don't call players dumb.
You don't.
You don't use that word.
By the way, it's a reflection of him as a head coach, right?
Yeah, I just don't. You don't use the word dumb.
All right, check this out. Cincinnati Marshall, Desmond Ritter drops back to pass. He's hit, the ball pops loose, and then Marshall thinks it's incomplete, but Josiah Jaguara picks it up. That's a touchdown.
Wow.
Play to the whistle, JV.
No, that's everyone's doing extra running. Everything happens.
Right.
Jeez.
Get out there. 52-14, the Bearcats win. All right, so we've talked about the teams who we think are the top 6 teams that are in there. How about some that we haven't mentioned that could be a part of the discussion before it's all said and done?
Oh, well, no doubt, Wisconsin. We need to talk about them. Over on the West Coast, Oregon, possibly Washington. I mean, I really like the way Jacob Eason's been playing as well.
I agree. You know, Washington is running the ball well, and they're playing very good defense. They're always going to play great special teams. But now Coach Pete finally has a quarterback in Jacob Eason that he's been looking for really his whole career, a guy that can be dominant. Is he dominant consistently yet? No. but he's creeping towards that. So I love Washington. Then I think Penn State. You know, Penn State's
59-0 against Maryland. That's right.
Maybe
That's
we'll
right.
find out more about Penn State in October when they play some more of the Big Ten. To Washington's point, people forget they got in as a one-loss Pac-12 champ ahead of two-loss Big Ten champ Penn State a couple of years ago, right? So Pac-12 is not out. But what about Notre Dame, guys? One loss Notre Dame to a good Georgia team. I mean, to me, they need some help because the rest of their schedule, a lot of those opponents like Stanford aren't looking as good as maybe we thought they would coming into the season. But look at what they did against Virginia defensively. 8 sacks. They held Virginia to minus yards or negative yards, 0 yards on over 50% of the time they ran the ball. I mean, that was pretty good. Big
time win for them because it wasn't an easy win. It was a gritty win, and they've surged at the end. And coming off a really tough loss, I mean, to me, that showed some grit. That showed some gumption.
Yeah, but as much as we talk about them, we know what's going to happen. Once those conference championship games come, Notre Dame is on the outside looking in, and then for whatever reason, they're going to get knocked for it. No matter how well they play, they're going to need a lot of help, particularly Georgia winning out. Because if Georgia loses, and God forbid Georgia loses twice, now all of a sudden it's like, well, was that really a good loss, et cetera, et cetera.
You're right.
I like Wisconsin. I like that.
I like them
obviously,
a lot.
Jonathan Taylor playing great. But
like
they're a team that could be a factor, of course, in the Big Ten. Ohio State standing in their way. But that's a team that I think deserves more conversation there.
Yeah.
We want to know who you think should be a part of the conversation. You can log on to twitter.com/SportsCenter on Monday to vote in this week's Capital One fan vote. Week 5 in the books. The countdown to Week 6 begins. We'll see you back here next Sunday.